Ladies and gentlemen, as it is in his character, seated already here is the representative of the Honorable Minister of Transportation, an educationist, someone who prides himself as a teacher. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Transportation, was here right on time. We recognize Mr. Adeleye, who has joined this meeting earlier as was scheduled to start by 10. The PS Transport, you're welcome, sir. Thank you for always showing us that example that we should follow in doing official business. Ladies and gentlemen, the keynote speaker for this inauguration is also here with us, talking of the Director General, National Center for Technology Management, NACETEM.
Minister of Aviation.
All right. The NACETEM DG is here, Dr. Olushola Odusanya is also here, and we want him to, if he's done with his presentation, please, can you sit next to our special guest, the Permanent Secretary? You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. And from the head of all of us, most of us, when we heard that the civil service, the transport cadre is now a cadre recognized in the Federal Civil Service, that was a good job which was done from the Office of the Head of Service of the Federation. And here we have representing that very important institution. My one-time boss, he has passed through transportation during the course of his service. Mr. Yanda is here, and we also want him to also join this part of the sitting arrangements from the Head of Service of the Federation. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. The Director Air Transport Management from the Federal Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Management is here representing the Minister, Malam Mohammed Tijani, please. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. And we have our friends, other friends who are here that we want to recognize. We are really privileged this morning to have in our midst the president of the Institute of Transport Professionals. You know, we have been doing things together, and that institute has also done so much. I remember Institute of Tourism Professionals. Thank you for that correction. I know their coordination and collaboration with transport started in 2017 in the National Council of Transport that held in Sokoto, where they said tourism and transport should not be standing differently. There should be the understanding, collaboration, because without one, the other cannot exist. And Otumba is here, who is the president of the institute. Let's welcome Otumba to this meeting, our own friend, and the coordinator of that important program, the Transport Tourism National program that holds in the country. Yes, Chief Abiodun Odusowo. And I want to also say that in the last program, they gave me and this person fellows of that institute. Yes. So this is our president that is here. And please, let's clap a special one, because we also brought there. So ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you about other persons that were here. The Corps Marshal of the Federation has his representative who is trying to navigate through the traffic. Those that came this morning, you know, the Minister of Projects, Minister of FCT is doing a lot, and there's a little issue on the road they want to, the foot overhead bridge that they're doing there. So I will tell you about him when he comes. The Corps Marshal the Federal Road Safety is also an institutional representative in this council for the Ciota Institute of Transport Administration of Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, our host, the President and Chairman of Council, is also here, Prince Dr. Shegu Obayado. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, we will begin this program as I will crave our indulgence to stand. Band, remember, officially, we do just first stanza of the national anthem, except in special occasions where Mr. President is, and national occasions, that's where we render all three. But for other national occasions, we just do stanza one. So we'll all rise, ladies and gentlemen. Can we rise as we take the national anthem? I will come back to introductions a while. Let's just start because I know how pressed of time some of our VIPs are. The band. Still standing, I'm going to take the stanza 3, which is the national prayers, and together we'll say amen when I'm through. O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed. Amen. Please, you may have your seats, ladies and gentlemen. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, we will have welcome remarks, and to do that is the Deputy National President of the Ciota Institute of Transport of Nigeria, a fellow of the Institute, Malam Umar Iya, will be taking that welcome remarks. Please, let's be generous with our class, please. Thank you very much. Deputy President, sir.
President of the Institute, the President, Chairman of Governing Council of Ciota Institute of Transport Administration of Nigeria, Representative of Honorable Minister, Transportation, Aviation, Blue Economy, our guest speaker, Director General, Center for Technology Management, Governing Council members, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
We all know the reason and purpose gathered here for the inauguration of the Governing Council of this institute, and also we have our programs that is taking place this morning. On behalf of the council, members of the institute, I welcome you all for this momentous occasion. Ciota Institute of Transport Administration of Nigeria, Ciota, is the baby of necessity, because we all know that this institute established 2019 with the mandate and act governing this institute. We are transporters. We want to develop and expand the knowledge into transportation industry. Ladies and gentlemen, the Governing Council, I'm pleased to you, this institute, we need your support, and also institute need to support you people. This stake is very heavy. You know, we all know that the leadership is not something that we can play. It's a heavy responsibility vested on our neck. So I dare appeal to our council members, we should put our head together and forward this institute to the promised land. Ladies and gentlemen, Governing Council of this institute, you are welcome to this occasion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Deputy National President of Ciota Institute of Transport Administration of Nigeria, Ciota. And like he has said, you know, at the time we were just saying government, even if it's a one-off funding, because the role of transportation cannot be overemphasized, so that we can really get things going well. If you remember how non-state actors have all positioned themselves and how to break that yoke, as it were, it has not been easy. But we are also working for another artisan way of bringing them and see how to refine so that our transport space, you know, will be one that we will be proud of. You know, when you travel elsewhere, from the airport to terminals, things are done orderly, and we are thinking Ciota will transform our space to become that orderly. You know, so like he was saying, funding is something very, very essential. We were given a task lately by the Office of the Vice President when he was asking in a meeting and said, how come that with what artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and technology has done, how come Nigeria has not started? And said, Ciota, I put it in your hands, call stakeholders, federal and subnationals, and let's start that sensitization. There are a lot of things that technology can help us do better, cover the space between the developed and the developing nations. So, if time permits, I will give you some rundown from that meeting. It's just a meeting we held 2 days ago, and by the time we finished that meeting, our boss could not keep us in the hotel anymore, so we are here. So thank you for being with Ciota. God will help us, and also with the help of the CEOs and chief executives, people who have space here, we think we are all going to make better impacts in the new year 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, we will be taking the Google messages. There are many of them, but we have trimmed them down to a manageable one, so that within 3-4 minutes we can handle maybe 5 of the invitees that we have here. The grand patron of this institute, the Honorable Minister of Transportation, is here ably represented by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, which I introduced earlier. And I think we were going to start the good message session first from the Honorable Minister of Transportation, ably represented here by the Permanent Secretary. Join me as we welcome to the podium the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Transportation. Welcome, sir.
MC, the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, which is ably represented here this morning, the guest speaker, who is the Director General, the representative of the various ministries that we have: aviation, marine and blue economy, Ministry of Works, the other National Executive Committee of the Ciota, and of course the big masquerade, who actually is the chairman of the entire institute. I want to use this opportunity to express the Honorable Minister's commitment to this association, and of course for what the association stands for. So I want to use the opportunity to congratulate the President and Chairman of the Governing Council of Ciota, Dr. Prince Shegun of Ayedo. Congratulations once again on this occasion of the inauguration of the third Governing Council of this great association. I also want to appreciate you for what you've been doing in the transportation sector. As a person, I've been privileged to be in some of your programs, and we are actually working together on so many things. And I want to use this opportunity also to let him know, and especially the Institute, that what you are part of, which is the National Land Transport Policy, is just awaiting the Federal Executive Council to actually rectify and pass that, because it's already at the Secretariat of the Cabinet Office, who is responsible to present that at the FEC meeting. So we are hopeful that in the next few FEC meetings, definitely that memo will be considered. And we are optimistic that it will sail through, because the Honorable Minister has done a lot of work talking to his colleagues across the divide as to why that particular policy is very, very key and very, very important. I want to thank you very much for being part of that from the very beginning. And of course, it's the first one in so many years that Nigeria will be having. And I believe that we also enhance the transportation system in Nigeria. So I want to thank you and members of your council for what you have done thus far. I'm here this morning actually to represent the Honorable Minister of Transportation, Senator Sahid Kali. And so you permit me to quickly read his goodwill message on this occasion of the inauguration of the third Governing Council of the Chartered Institute of Transportation Administration of Nigeria, Ciota. I warmly welcome you to the inauguration ceremony of the third Governing Council of Ciota. Permit me to commend the choice of the theme of this year's inauguration lecture, which is Adoption of Technology in Transportation Ecosystem. This is timely as it falls within what is going on around the world. But allow me to pause. I was going through the social media just, I think, 2 days ago, where one of the nations in Africa are already coming up with their own EV, production of EV vehicle, the very first one. And that's to show that we are actually not left behind. But I know by the time Nigeria is coming on board, it shall be a greater achievement. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is worthy to note that recent technological innovation in the transport sector are breathtaking. Global electric car sales went from almost none in 2010 to about 30 million in 2023. In many places, door-to-door transport services spanning multiple modes are available within mere minutes after a single swipe of your finger on a smartphone screen, be it for passengers or in person. However, significant challenges still lay ahead for the transport sector to reduce its climate impact and to bring the benefit of transformation technologies to more people worldwide. Transformation technologies, one that truly shifts the paradigm and make the impossible possible, are putting effective solutions within closer reach. Let us recall that Ciota is charged with the responsibility of advancing the study, training, and practice of transport management and administration in Nigeria. It is therefore hoped that the mandate of Ciota is, if achieved, will shine a light on the transformation potential of technology and help navigate the quickly changing landscape of transport innovations. Although different countries may need to prioritize different solutions based on the local context. One thing is for certain, no matter where you live, technology is bound to have a profound impact on the way you move. With the right tools and policies in place, this provides a real opportunity to make transport better, greener, and smarter. Ladies and gentlemen, the institute which we are here to celebrate has been set up primarily for the purpose of promoting professionalism and accountability within the transport administration profession. The broad intention is therefore to promote transportation as a profession rather the sector being seen as a playground for all commerce. So this sector, we are encouraging professionalism, and Ciota has actually been the flagship of that. Once again, I would think we should give Ciota a round of applause. I would like to see this opportunity to congratulate members of the third Governing Council of the Institute for being found worthy and qualified for this appointment, and also express my gratitude for accepting to serve in various capacity of the board. You should note that your appointment is not a means of self-aggrandizement and self-enrichment, but a call to service to humanity, especially in the transport sector. It is therefore my honor and privilege to congratulate you and enjoy you to justify the competent reports by making impact on various areas of the transport sector. At this junction, again, I want to charge Ciota and all the associates and allies to see that by the time the tenure of this third council is over, Nigeria will have been on the world map where issues that have to do with transportation will have been a front burner. And we wish you, Ciota, and every member of the Governing Council a very successful tenure in office. God bless you. Long live Ciota. Long live Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, sir. That's the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Transportation, Mr. Doye Adeleye. Thank you very much, sir. The PS just gave us a little expo that excites the hearts of everybody who is in the country. The Land Transport National Policy is what he talked about. And I want professionals here. You know, the truth remains that if you like sell, go reach that port. If the road or land transport does not carry you very well, wahala go dey. We took a flight once to Lagos, and from Lagos airport to Ikoyi hotel, we spent 3 hours. The flight was 55 minutes. But that rainy season, we were on the land for 3 hours because the road transport was not working. That document has so much on rail and road that is going to serve this nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the PS will have his seats as we are going to give a standing ovation for that feat. He was trying to thank the president of Ciota, but we are thanking him. There are many PSs that have seen that document. It didn't go to where it's supposed to go. But in his time, that document made such movement. Can we stand and give him a standing ovation, for leading that team to have this ground? Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have our seats. Okay. So we can all live here today making noise because when FEC will do their due diligence on that document, it comes out, sensitization is done. Then what my president will always say, this chaos in land transport, we can settle it. This chaos in land transport is just that he didn't see where to put his hand as making that comment. the policy is where to now put his hands to say, government said we're going to achieve this, traffic management is this is this, and then we are really excited for that feat that the ministry in this regime has made. Ladies and gentlemen, another question that Ciota gets from members is when they ask us, those who are in the federal civil service and state service, what is the need for us? And we keep explaining and say head of service has done his bits, that there is a cadre, transport professionals cadre, you know, and you will not hear from my mouth. We have here a member of the council who is representing the office of the head of service of the federation, and then the next person I'm going to bring here will be that member who is also going to give us a goodwill, and maybe when we are done, we're going to hear more from him on how this cadre is being implemented, so that people who come to Ciota, who wants to work for state government, who wants to work in agencies, who wants to work for the federal, they know that there's a progression now. You can go to the point of a director if you're a transport professional. I want to bring Mr. Ayanda to speak. He'll give us a goodwill from the head of service of the Federation's office.
Good morning, the Honorable Minister of Transportation, ably represented by the Permanent Secretary, Transportation. Good morning, sir. Good morning, the Honorable Minister of Aviation, also represented by the Director, ATM. And the guest speaker, good morning, sir. The representative of the Co-Marshal, and our host, the President of the Council, and all members, good morning, everyone. Like the MC Riley said, this cadre make it enable, we're going to talk about career progression in service. When you are in the service and there is no particular cadre that make you to progress easily, you may end up not getting to the peak of your career. And the National Council on Establishment have deemed it fit that it's need for us to have professionals that will make our transportation system to be seamless regardless of the mode of transportation. And I assure you that once we have the necessary qualification, the sky is the limit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Sure, we don't hear them from, okay, it's not a horse, but it's from the horse's mouth. So your program in the transport industry from level 8 to 17, whether in the states, whether in an agency. So there is a cadre that has passed through the National Council on Establishment, where the head of service of the Federation sits among head of services of, you now know it's 37. FCT has a council now, also have a head of service. Before it used to be 36. So now every entity in Nigeria has their own head of service. So the head of service of the Federation sits at the very chair of the National Council on Establishment, and that is where decisions are taken, issues about career progression and career management in the Nigerian Federal Civil Service. And then we are happy that he has again given us that assurance, that you can make your career in the civil service to the very last level like it is in other cadres, whether the accountants, whether the medical people or the medical services. I know in the last meeting there are some new cadres that were also brought into the service. So people can make their career including transport professionals. So that's a good news to hear, you know. Those online, I know that some states are looking for plenty protocols, you know. That document was signed 2019, I remember, either in Asaba, and if they have any question, any letter written to the office of the head of service, the document will be given to you. It's just that signing, approval, and gazetting, you know, they don't happen immediately. So when you want to see it in a gazette and it's not yet there, does not mean it does not carry the weight it carries. Once that meeting closes and the communique comes out, it's a working material. So please, if you're hearing me and somebody's telling you in the States, where it is, we know self for inside gazette. No. It was adopted, signed, you know, the immediate past head of service was in that meeting. So please, we have every instrument to run our career as transport professionals. He has just confirmed that here, and I think you can take it to the bank and that check will cash. The National Transport and Tourism Summit was an offshoot which the Institute of Tourism Professionals had to pull that through the National Council on Transportation, and since then there have been very intimate relationship between the transport sector and the tourism sector, and we are privileged to have the president and the chairman of the Council of the Institute of Tourism Professionals, Chief Abiodun Odusawo, who is here. We'll also give him the podium to give us a good message on this epoch-making day for Ciota. Chief, sir.
Thank you very much. Please permit me to stand on the existing protocol already established by the Permanent Secretary. On behalf of the Governing Council of the Institute of Tourism Professionals of Nigeria, I would like to thank you for inviting me as a guest of honor to the inauguration of the third Governing Council of Ciota. Today's inauguration of the third Governing Council of Ciota is another milestone in the collective desire to institutionalize the Council and also the importance of Council as the emphasis is to drive the affairs of the Council. The Council provides a platform for diverse perspective, informed decision-making, strategic guidance, and collaborative problem-solving, allowing Ciota to move forward. I am made to understand that the theme of this inauguration lecture is adoption of technology in transportation ecosystem. This theme is very, very cogent, as all what you do today is now being driven by technology. The connectivity between tourism and transportation is essential, because without tourism is where you want to go, transportation is how to get there. And therefore the need and adoption of technology will now bring in a more or less seamless way of actually connecting between the two industries and sectors. Finally, as seriously to shape the future of transportation in Nigeria, to enable the drive of efficiency, it is essential, therefore, that the collaboration between tourism and transportation be fully enhanced. I thank you very much. Please have a nice Catholic Council. Thank you.
Now is the turn of the aviation and aerospace management, and I told you earlier that Madam Ibrahim Tijani, Director Air Transport Management, is here presenting that ministry. Let's welcome Tijani for their goodwill
of this event. The goodwill message from the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development is to say that they will convey the commitment of the ministry, the minister through the ministry, on the ongoing reform in the ministry to see to the professionalization of the key departments that are relevant to the professional body. And with the news coming from the head of service that issues of professionalization and creation of cadre has been finalized, we want to say the ministry is set to ensure this professionalization at the ministry level, and thank the institute for what they have been doing over time. On that note, congratulations for the achievements so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Coincidentally, Mr. Enda, who is here, he has worked in transport, he has worked in aviation. So he's somebody that is qualified to be given honorary transport professional. He has been in those two ministries that are all supervising the transport sector. So we are really at home in this place, and his choice to be in that council is, I think, is a well thought out one. Ladies and gentlemen, he's our friend and he's a technology enthusiast. At this juncture, for those online, please, if you have a question, please just type it so that we are going to collate, and the person I'm bringing on board is not afraid of questions. Yes, if there are any ones that space and time will permit him, he's going to answer. We have been in his office and we have discussed technology. I assure you, the things we want to do together, when we begin, it will blow minds. Ladies and gentlemen, the keynote speaker who will be looking at adoption of technology in transportation ecosystem, our friend and a fellow also of the Institute. Yes, I remember he's a fellow of the Institute. We will join hands and to welcome to this podium the DG NASATEM, Dr. Olushola Odusayan. He will be taking that presentation, and whenever we gather in transport, we want you to go home with one knowledge or the other. Thank you and welcome, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to stand, as has been practiced, on the existing protocols established by the Permanent Secretary. But at the same time, I also want to acknowledge and greet the various personalities that are here representing the different parastatals and ministries that have representation here. And I recognize all of you. And without mentioning all of you, you should know that from my heart, I greet you all. And I know that you are very important to the transport sector. And I also thank you for honoring us for coming here to participate in this program. Now, I've been doing teaching for some time. And in recent times, because of the advent of technology, where you have your students are online and they are always using computers. So we started doing what is called project-based learning, where we now focus on getting results from our teaching practice rather than what we used to do, where we just give sermons and the students scribble things up. Nowadays, they have access to technology, have access to information, and our lectures have migrated from the conventional lectures to discussions. So this morning, we are going to have something similar to that. We are going to have a discussion. And please interject at any time. This is the beauty of the 21st century interactions. So this morning, next slide, I'm going to talk a bit about technologies that are relevant to Nigerian transport sector, taking into consideration where we are as a people, and also taking into consideration the fact that we have to grow, and we will grow along with the rest of the world, and we take our own niche and create for ourselves. Because Nigeria, with its population of more than 200 million people, with 250 ethnic nationalities, with one of the most advanced transport networks in Africa, also with organized labor of the size of 30 million people, with local technology tailored towards its needs, and we are seeing deficiencies there, is a very, very good area to study and understand. And that understanding will lead to rapid urbanization and population growth, which require advanced solutions, some of which are already being practiced. Here in Nigeria, we also have EVs. You know, as far back as the time when the last Director General was at the NADDC, we had already come up with an EV that was actually an EV in practice, because it was a collaboration with an existing company, and the EVs were actually contributed by the Nigerian sector. So Nigeria is not really bad when it comes to technology. Where we are and what we need to focus on is to get the policy right. In every advanced country, they have said good thinking makes new products, and that's the Japanese mantra, and that's exactly what the Chinese are doing. You know, they think well and they come up with products. So we are going to think along our transport sector together, and I'm going to try to needle some of us and help us recreate some of the pathways we followed, which were probably the wrong pathways. I'm going to be looking at technologies in the 5 sectors of transport and help us navigate what we need to do to correct some of the potential errors that are beginning to grow, but most importantly, harness that power base that this collaboration has. Ciota has within its ambit the organized labor, and I'm talking as much as the amalgamated community of keke riders, motorcycle operators and repairers. I'm talking of Akomoron. I'm talking of the national agency and the National Association of all the different road workers. I'm talking of the National Union of Owners, of the operators and the workers. That database of 30 million is actually the power of the Nigerian economy, and that is the power that we need to harness and use it to the benefit of the nation. And I'm going to take us through how this would help us operate better in aviation, in marine and maritime, as well as blue economy, in land transport, as well as in all the other sectors, including pipeline operations. So next slide. Next slide. Now, there was an error in the first slide, so I'm jumping to the other slide. The first slide showed all the different sectors. Can you go back, please? Here, we identify all the different sectors, and we try to highlight the problems that we have identified in each of the sectors, with the hope that with understanding what the problems are, we can now tailor solutions towards them. In aviation, one of the things that comes to mind is safety. And one of the first questions you want to ask is, are our aircrafts safe? When you look at the military aviation, you hear of more crashes than normal. Now I'm talking of military aviation. You see a lot of helicopters crash, a lot of their equipment crash. And how many do we have that they're having so frequent crashes? So safety becomes an issue. In civil aviation, we have relatively better safety, better management of that safety. But with military, there is a problem. Perhaps it's an issue of training. Perhaps it's an issue of the equipment they are using. But there is a problem in that sector. And we begin to ask ourselves the questions regarding to safety of military aviation and transport. But beyond that, the issues of ticketing, as simple as it is, the simple issues of having scheduled flights become a problem. And you see this reverberating in rail transport also. Has anybody experienced traveling from Kaduna to Abuja? I was hoping that the newly appointed MD of Railway Corporation will be here, so that I'll be able to needle in and ask him, maybe the first assignment you should have is to board a train from Abuja to Kaduna and back. And then you will see that one of the first things you have to do is to deal with ticketing. It's the simplest of all. And we will be benefiting a lot because these are areas where we can bring local technology. I am not an advocate of buying technology and trying to fit it to our problems. I'm an advocate of building homegrown technologies. Because I have been opportune to see how these things happen in countries like Malaysia, Japan, where I did my postdoc, and I saw how they solved their transport problem. In the 60s, what we have in Kaduna, Lagos, and Abuja is what they used to have in Japan, until their researchers came up with their ticketing system, and that ticketing system was one which you put the tickets in, and it rolls through the ticketing machine that reads the ticket and opens to you to pass. If you carry luggage, the ticketing machine will assume that there are two people and it's to block you from passing. But what we have now, we are not getting revenue. Then another thing you look at, we have already made the rails, right? We have just a few coaches, but the demand is higher than what is being provided. So is it an issue that we cannot build new coaches? And what are the technologies embedded in building a coach that are exclusive to us? Does it start from our university that the courses we are teaching are not relevant to the needs of the transport sector? Or is it that there is a policy that is not detailing the number of transport professionals we want to have in our society and the roles that they are going to play to distribute them into all the different sectors? When you jump and look at the pipeline sector, you will see that there are some problems that are being built now. The pipelines are being made, welders are being brought from all over the world. Have we developed our Nigerian welder cadre? Those are the areas, those are the technology needs. When you are talking of IoTs and all of that, bread and butter technologies that can involve a large number of people are the most important technologies that we need to invest in, and the investment in those ones are easy to achieve. And therefore, at NASETEM, we met with the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology, and we are working to try to get some funding to establish an international welding certification center in the National Institute of Transport Technology, so that we begin to create internationally certified welders who will work in oil and gas, who will work in transportation, who will work in aviation and all the sectors. So we will go along and we'll be talking about these technologies one after the other. In marine transport, again, I want to distill between marine and maritime. When I say marine, I'm talking of the biology of the environment, how we fish, how we go to fish, knowing the resources and having equipment to fish. Why will you build a boat that could be as big as what you are seeing on the screen and you don't know where the fish is? There are fish finder technologies that are simple technologies based on sonar that we need to multiply on large scale and ensure that every fisherman who has a boat goes onto the waters with equipment that allows him to be able to know where the fish is and catch it. And the technologies have been distilled to lower level, and then we can come up with better improvements of those. And if we are not teaching this in universities, then we are not getting it right. Because of this, our continental shelf, we don't get up to those places, and as a result, we are losing out on the resources God has endowed us with, because we don't have the technologies, and we are not teaching our next generation on the use of the technologies that would help them get there. So I'm going to be talking about ticketing systems. This cuts across all the transport sections, except for maybe the pipeline sector. I'm going to be talking of radio frequency identification devices. Very simple technology. It's a simple technology that is on the cassette tape. You remember those cassette tapes that we used to use in those days? Yeah. Those technologies, they cost nothing now. And these are the technologies we should invest in to improve our ticketing system and make them modern. It can also do identification. The last time Ciota had an event at Sheraton, I was amazed when the group that came from Jordan, I think, were telling us about radio frequency identification system and how they had viralized it, and it's only I say 400 million naira in cost.
Federal Ministry of Transport.
Yes, Federal Ministry of Transport, and I was there. And the question I was asking myself is $400 million too much for Ciota to buy off that technology and own it, and then develop it further? Believe me, you have the capacity to do so, and we are going to work together to make this happen. Because the technology is based on radio frequency identification device. A few years ago, for those of us who live in Abuja, you will remember that the Vehicle Inspection Unit, VIO, brought out a device. I can't remember the name they called it, but it was going to cost us 2,000 naira to put those things on our number plates for them to identify our vehicles better. But do you know that if they went a step further at that time and kept that device, today will be a powerhouse in the transport sector, because we'll be able to do identification of our vehicles. Nobody will steal any vehicle without us knowing where that vehicle is. You don't need the sophisticated method that is now being used, where we are now putting pathfinder devices within our vehicle. That RFID was sufficient to track that vehicle wherever it was going, but we did not multiply it. We were buying the technology and soldering it on our vehicles. You remember a few years ago also, when the Federal Road Safety Commission gave us some some reflective lights behind our vehicles. We are basically importing them, but we could have been making those things. If they had an organization that was making those reflectors, the need is still there, but the technology we did not develop. So who is teaching those technologies in school is the question. It's not the fault of the Federal Road Safety Commission. They saw a need and then they plugged on to it. But the question is a society doing the right thing to generate the people that are required to produce those technologies for Federal Road Safety Commission, VIO, and all the other institutions to latch onto them? And I think this is what the beauty that Ciota brings on board, for all of us to come together and think together. Like I said, this is not a lecture. This is a discussion. So please interject and stop me at any time. Let's reason out. Maybe it's only one out of all the things I'm talking about is going to work. And then we'll come out with a solution today, and that solution becomes ours. And then we begin to build upon it. And then bring all the resources together in terms of intellectual, financial, and legislative, because we need legislative support for all these things. I'm going to talk about, please don't go away, I'm going to talk about fiberglass. Fiberglass technology starts with your cooler. You know that cooler that you use to put food to make it cool. That cooler is a boat. Do you agree with me? Because what is a boat? A boat is a flotation device you put on water, and then you put some navigation equipment on it. That cooler, the outside of it could be made of fiberglass, the inside is a foam, and then the inside where you have food contact application is a plastic that allows food contact application. When you make it bigger, it becomes a boat essentially, because that's what a boat is. So who says you cannot make cooler? After all, Okoye has been doing that at Eleganza. So we just need a bigger factory to be making boats. But you know, our minds were not directed towards that, and that's the new way we teach in university. So we now project a problem that, look, in the transport sector, we have marine and we have maritime, and we want you to devise solutions for moving human beings from place to place. So the students come up with their presentations and we begin to critique. That way they learn better, they know of all the things that are available because they have all the technologies, and the lecturer's life becomes easier because we are always discussing, and at the end of the day, we have the end in mind in what do we want to achieve. Their knowledge and their ability to go out and make impact. From day one, they are ready to make impact. And these are the new students that are coming out of universities. They are better than the ones. They are better than us, in other words. So I'll be talking a bit about fiberglass technologies, and I'll be talking about case studies. One of the major problems of transport in Nigeria today is the fuel. And when President Ahmed Tinubu came up, he said he wanted to develop CNG. Let me inform you, many years ago, 20 years ago in fact, I was secretary of a strategic planning committee for rural development in Lagos, and we came up with the idea that there was supposed to be an energy mix. And we submitted our report. The current DG of the Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies. He's also a member of that committee. We suggested compressed natural gas because in Lagos there was EGMI, compressed thermal plant, which was using compressed natural gas. So we created even a retail model where you could use something similar to the LPG tanks, and then you can be replacing the tanks. Not that you all go and park in NIPCO to try and get your gas. Opportunities in that sector exist, and there are enormous opportunities which we need to tap into and take advantage of them. So I'm going to talk a little bit about liquefied natural gas, not just compressed, but liquefied, because when you are talking of marine transports, a vessel that is going to go to another continent, you will use compressed natural gas because, liquefied natural gas because it stores more energy compared to compressed. And then the cargo holds can keep those, and then we can move into that. Ciota should quickly step into that before the eventuality comes. But right now, what NASETEM is doing is that we are working with some of the partners, especially with West African Ventures in Lagos, to try to put boats on the waters that uses compressed natural gas. In this case, we will build the entire system. We are not importing everything from China. And on the basis of that, we believe we'll be putting jobs on people's backs in a very significant way. Next slide. So this is a picture of what we are thinking of a CNG-powered boat or maybe an LNG-powered boat, where the cargo hold in that green area would either be compressed or liquefied natural gas. And we take advantage of the resources we have in Nigeria. For your information, we are burning compressed natural gas. We have been burning it since Nigeria got independence up to today. And the initiative of this president, stop burning it, let's use it to drive our vehicles. Does it not make sense? Is that not the place we should invest in, put the infrastructure that is necessary, and turn this resource that we are wasting into a resource that we are using? I think it just makes sense, but many of us do not trust or believe in ourselves sufficiently to drive these initiatives. They will last this government and they will push forward. I told you 20 years ago we suggested it in Lagos, but we are happy that the president came and he took it up and is making it a national thing. And I think we should all work towards it. Next slide. For rail transport, I have mentioned the ticketing issues. The top part of a train is essentially two things: welded metals and fiberglass. Look at it when you get into the train, please touch the top part. That's all it is. So what we can do, because we don't have the technologies for foundry yet, we can buy the rail, the one that goes onto the track, and build the fiberglass. And I believe the fiberglass technologies are in our hands, and we should be able to drive through. And the propulsion system, we are also, I had a conversation with the MD, and I told him we have to start talking with you about using CNG to drive those locomotive engines, because you can't be running diesel for those powerful engines that you use, because at the end of the day it may not be cost effective. Now, one very important thing, apart from welding, which we'll devote some time to, is foundry. Foundry is the issue of melting metals, making those metals become liquid, and then the liquid you now form them and shape them. It has opportunities in recreation, as in your garden chairs and all of that. It has opportunities also in making certain parts. In many cities of Nigeria, most of the drain covers have been stolen. But we can be making drain covers with weaker materials that are not strong like that. And finally, we can make our own engine. We can start with two-stroke engines and then graduate until we make bigger engines. But let me assure us, Chairman Ciota, that we are not going to be having in the next 20 years the kind of vehicles we have on our streets today. You will not be having Range Rover engines, Toyota engines, and all of that. All you are going to have is a rotor on every wheel and a power system for that rotor. In other words, there is not going to be engine, it's just a rotor for the wheels and then a navigation system. Whereas you may be weak in the navigation system, and the navigation system's cost will be going down, what we are going to have to invest on is the rotors. So every tire of an articulated truck will have its own rotor, and there will be no central engine, because all we need is power to drive those rotors, and the powers will come from batteries. And the first initiative has already started in Nasarawa State, where the government initially planning to plant sugarcane. When they were doing the soil test, they found lithium, and the governor, being a businessman more than a sugarman, I saw him as a sugarman because he was head of Dangote Industries and he was in charge of sugar. He was the CEO of Dangote before he became governor, and I felt, I'm going to be a millionaire because he's going to invest in sugar. But when he got to the land and saw that there was lithium, he switched from sugar and turned the place into a factory for lithium. Today, 5,000 people are employed on that piece of land, and they are producing lithium batteries, although for export. There will come a time in Nigeria where our resources will now be using to build these batteries. I teach in African University of Science and Tech, and there we have capacity to build those coin cells, you know, those round ones you put in watches and all of that, the ones for batteries, the flat ones that are here, as well as all manner of batteries and capacitors. And the interesting thing about them is that they are easy to make. You are one machine away from making it on a large scale. The issue is getting the machine that is going to drive the production on a large scale. The resources are here. We have carbon, we have lithium, we have the electrode, we put everything together and we can make batteries, capacitors, and all the things we need. So the next thing is the rotor. What is the rotor? The simple technology behind the fan is that you have wound some wire coils and then you have put some metals and they are now chasing each other. As one metal is chasing the other, it's rotating, and the more electricity you put in, the faster the fan goes, and that's all proportion is about. So we are going to have to create another factory that is going to be turning coils of copper to make rotors that are going to drive the vehicles of the next 10 years. Therefore, what we teach in school has to be different, the approach we teach has to be different, and organizations like Ciota need to bring the problems for the students to know, because the students of today are not like those of old. They are not memorizing things, they are thinking, creating, and we lecturers, all we do is just guide. That look, this is a problem. Think of identify all the solutions in the world and adopt them in a way that solves this problem. So back to rail transport. We need to look at ticketing. We need to look at welding and foundry practices. We need to look at fiberglass components for the upper part of the train, and then we buy the lower part so that what we spend money importing is less. And then we now begin to use resources of the country more effectively. Issues of artificial intelligence, IoTs, and all of that will now come in brilliantly because our own people will also begin to contribute. NASETEM, next slide, is building an artificial intelligence ecosystem. What the ecosystem simply does is that we have brought some universities, Wentworth University in the USA, a private sector entity, to give us the infrastructure. Because everybody is talking artificial intelligence, who is talking of the infrastructure that is required to be built? Instead of investing in that, this infrastructure exists in other places. We have Nigerian professors all over the place, and we have asked them to come into an ecosystem to mentor young people who have different AI goals. And then institutions will now bring their AI goals and also join the ecosystem, and then we begin to work. We need to leapfrog into the next century, and these are the important things. I'm showing the ticketing of the Japanese environment. And I was hoping I was going to have a pointer, but let me use this. The ticket goes in here, and there is a belt that runs like that. It has different sectors where it reads the ticket. It will identify when the ticket was bought, how many units have been used, and which routes that has been used on, and then it flips out. So the time through which it goes like this, it's doing all of that, and then the person is working and it has a device that closes if the ticket is not valid. This can be made in Nigeria. It doesn't need to be imported. And institutes like ours can work with people to build this and make it local. We need to have this not necessarily linked to NIN. Why do you need NIN? Because somebody wants to travel from Abuja to Kaduna. We are wasting our resources and exposing it to dangers. NIN is not needed. All you need is a ticketing machine like that. You know, before ATM machine were looking strange, but now we now understand what's behind it, and our boys are so super that the ATM machines, if the banks are not careful, they will lose a lot of money. Next slide. And this is where I want us to focus on. You know, instead of talking of things that Chinese will now come and cheat us and take advantage of us, these are the things we need. Flyways, all these couples that are needed in transport, road transport, rail transport, air transport, all of these need these couples. Why should these things be imported? This is where Nigeria loses its money. And the simple thing is foundry technology. You melt the metals. You of course need to know metallurgy to know which metals to melt to give you the strength that you require, the durability you require. And then when you do that, you actually produce these products. They are very easy to produce. Next slide. So in Nigeria, there is an institute called the Engineering Materials Development Institute. They are in Akure. They are part of the NASENI. You know, many years ago, there was no science and tech. There was only National Agency for Science and Tech. Then the engineers complained, and then they formed the National Agency for Science and Tech. So we are going to be collaborating with them to bring the engineers to practice level, to see what is possible, so that we stop importing. Can you imagine that all the components of the train were imported from China? The track, the sleepers, the screws, haba. This is where Nigeria loses money, and this is where technology plays a role. And these are the technologies we should focus on. Everybody talks of artificial intelligence and all of that, but that's apex. Bread and butter technologies that is going to onboard a lot of people is the technologies we should focus on. There is democracy in science, and we should bring it on board. What it will give us is things like drain covers. Drain covers are imported. This is why they steal them. But if you make drain covers and you make them with weak metals that nobody would value, then you will have achieved your aim. When you look at those drain covers, please, let's do an exercise. Everybody that goes out, look at those drain covers. You see DIN, that's German standard. You see Japanese standard. You see ASTM. Where is the Nigerian standard material? And these are the efforts that we need to put in place. Knowledge is not static. We need to grow it. And we need to create opportunities for our people to make these small products. Next slide. There is something wrong with this thing. Next. Now let's talk a bit about intelligent transport system. I was expecting FCT to be here, but they are not here. I wanted to do their biz. You know what Fela used to do in those days. I approached them and I wanted to discuss this Ahmadu Bello way. You drive and then a short while you see one traffic light. You drive another, you see another short traffic light. Why do people beat traffic lights? Because they get frustrated. The traffic lights can also be configured in such a way that once you hit a green, you get green all through that long road. Yeah. And every other road will be integrated. It's just about algorithms that are simple, that any first year graduate can write. And we said, look, let's discuss this. But it became difficult to see the transport secretary. Anyway, it will get better and we'll see the transport secretary eventually. And then we'll discuss this thing, because we ourselves need to be proactive, to join forces to help the country. Of course, I know part of the problem is power. Because the intersection, sometimes they don't have power. And therefore, the person in the intersection may jump into traffic and cause accident, which is even worse. But technologies exist for us to do efficient fleet management, traffic management, where road safety will sit in their office and look at the map of Abuja and see where the congestion is. And they can fly a drone there and find out what the congestion is and solve the problem. What is a drone? A rotor and a battery. That's right. The rest can be 3D printed, and life has become easier. The engineering we are now teaching in university is different from the engineering many of us learned, because we are now saying, look at the problems. Take a compendium of solutions that are already out there and available online. Bring it to class, and try to come up with solutions. And those guys, they are high flyers, and that's why the Jackpot syndrome is occurring as a result of the problems these young people are facing, the solutions they are seeing, and the weaknesses of the public and private sector in Nigeria. Because what is a platform for someone who comes up with a solution of intelligent traffic management? Where is the platform for that person to approach government to initiate a change? He will go through the ministries, you have to go through legislation, and sometimes when legislation comes, enforcement now comes, how does it get enforced? So we need to rethink the whole system and ask basic questions on how do we onboard new technologies. So it's not just about the technology, how do we onboard the technologies? And this is what the role of Ciota would be. Next slide. Now, I'll talk about pipeline. The major problem of pipeline is we don't even know how to make the pipelines because most of the pipes are imported. The welders used to be imported. Why I got involved in welding was when the people from Korea imported 200 welders to come and weld water in Lagos. If you remember when you were building some waterways, I was like, do you mean there are no welders in Nigeria? Yes, there are welders, but they are not certified. And you have to have that international certification before a reputable company can take you on in order for you to become someone who can do the work. So what the companies do is that they get their BOQs, they list that they are going to bring 200 welders onto that job, and Nigeria pays for it, but they bring only one. And then they now recruit all the welders on the streets and get the job done. And therefore, Nigeria bleeds twice. So why don't we build the capacity to have local international welding certification and placement, so that when these contracts are being negotiated, Nigeria can say, if it's welders, we have welders. If it's plumbers, we have plumbers. They are certified. And these are the underlying technologies for transport. They are basic bread and butter technologies that are going to drive action in these areas. And these are the things we should focus on. Corrosion in pipeline. We have pitting corrosion. We have about 5 different types of corrosion occur in pipelines. But all of them are basic problems that can be solved by nanotechnology, and some technologies are already being developed in Nigeria. Next slide. I will leave this because it talks about the things, smart materials, self-healing materials. Some of them based on biological materials are available. And let me now talk about this because I've discussed it with Ciota before, and I'm excited about this. Because this is what connects. Transport is not supposed to be an elitist thing. Can you imagine something that brings the pilot that drives a 777 jet with a Keke Napep rider? That is Ciota. They are all professionals in the transport sector. Irrespective of you are driving Keke Napep, we have now made motorcycle a transport equipment in Nigeria. You and the pilot, we are the same. And we are both professionals in the transport sector. My take is, how do we connect the motorcycle operator whose passenger is only one and the one who is carrying 400 or more passengers, and he has to go through several layers of training? We now came up with NACETEM's surrendered value identity management system to track the problem of identity. If I was going to do a poll, I usually do that. If I had more than 1 hour, I would have shared a piece of paper and said everybody should write his address. And I'm sure by the end of the day, we are going to find some addresses that say, my house is number 2, behind the mosque, behind something, because we don't have an address system. Largely, only about 5% of Nigerians have address. The rest of us don't have address. But if you carry your phones, 200 million of us are on phones. And you know one thing in Nigeria is that we tend to jump technologies. We used to have that 3310. We used to have those phones that you turn like this and to go around and come back. Who uses them anymore? We use fax machines. Where are they now? In every other countries, those machines are still there. Fax still works. Those landline telephones still work. What killed our own landline? We just ignored it. Just as you ignored 3310, as if it cannot function anymore, you now adopted these smartphones. Those technologies are still there. The point I'm making is that you can electronically identify everybody's address through the smartphones by marrying technologies. So you can marry the technology of your fingerprints that you gave when you go to bank. You marry it with your home address and marry it with the surrendered value, which is for you to contribute a token. So if we can organize a common run and all the other association of road transport workers who have databases, when you combine them, more than 50 million people. If you are dealing with 50 million people, you are dealing with a large population of Nigerians. And I promise you, it is transport that can do that. If you marry this together by asking a fraction of them to contribute money into one account, by surrendering, that is surrender value, say 1,000 naira, put it in an account. By the time you do that, you have surrendered your face, you have surrendered your fingerprints, you have surrendered the address as written, and then we can add it to electronic address, and then we have address for 50% or thereabout of the Nigerian population. And thus, the surrendered value identity management system. We now identify people correctly in the sense that we know their home addresses, and this identity can now also help us leverage funds, in which the funds that 30 million people contribute over a period becomes a large amount of money. I discussed this at the last meeting we had, yes, and I was expecting to have a meeting with National Union of Road Transport Workers Association so that you can escalate this. With that fund, all these technologies I shared will now be available. So I'm just going to go through 2 or 3 slides because I've been given marching orders to conclude. Please just scroll through. I think at the end of the day, next, just go through. Probably this is not presenting the pictures, but I wanted to show examples of built in Nigeria ferries. They were made 100% here with 100% Nigerians hands. We are trying to deploy them to Lagos so that we can have ferry transport that is made in Nigeria but also powered by compressed natural gas. I have deliberately not tried to wow you with artificial intelligence because it's exciting, but is it ours? Eventually we will be spending money overseas when we have left all these basic cradle technologies, bread and butter technologies of metallurgy, joining and all of that, which are the foundations of transport. AI is not the foundation of transport, it's just an enabler, the latest enabler. But our boys are already operating there. And what we need to now do is to strengthen that by having a strong backbone to ensure that all the tracks or rails, all the sleepers, all the screws, all the joints, all the drain covers are made in Nigeria. We have the metals. If anybody is doubting, gas has reached Ajaokuta. Ajaokuta has all the metals that you can think of, and the heat that you use to melt the metals and make stainless steel is there. And by the time you start looking at all of this, you will now begin to see the real power of Nigeria. The real power of Nigeria is for us to sit down and begin to think together. And then we'll now see that we are going to bring solutions to all the different sectors of the economy and strengthen the economy. My lectures are usually not like this because I like it to be interactive. I like to ask questions and throw those questions open, and the way you answer, we will now understand better and then move forward. That's how we teach in class now. We don't teach the traditional way where we just throw information. We ask questions. In your answers to those questions, we will come up with the solutions. And I'll close by a question. Do you think that Nigeria doesn't have the capacity to make metals that are required by the transport sector? That's my question. So that starts the discussion.
That affects plate number in our cars. I just think there is something that needed to be done and done fast, that we shouldn't allow dollar to be an issue why I shouldn't register in the morning and get my plate number 24 hours after. You know, is there any special thing this imported one puts in that car? Or is it not something we can do a wood and coat it so that it doesn't get rough? And you know, so thank you very much. Since he started lecture, giving us this practical lecture, I don't know whether I'll call it old school lecture or the new brand lecture. It didn't go like a usual lecture. I want to lecture like him. I don't know where they go to that school. I want it technically and practically. If I wrote something here, I said, Doc, Ciota is going to arrange a forum where we're going to welcome the new MD NRC. Now that you have put so many things on his table, we in Ciota, we can catch him easily. We will put him on table that day and we will unleash you on him. And he will give us a promise that this might turn or not be as usual. There are things that are very low-hanging fruits that we can start harvesting, you know. What he said about funding, NRC had those things. Civil service just came and said, if you don't have certificate, you go home. Those men were all pursued and they didn't bring people on board. Those things went like that. So the man who was doing board engine in Niwa didn't have certificates. But once the engine has a problem, the man will just pieces it and the man went home. The new engineers cannot work on engine to drive those boats. They cannot repair. But at the time we saw them, you talked about identity here, and somebody just thought because you don't have that big certificate, you are not important. Now the new graduates, they cannot do engine. They cannot do engine. Very unfortunate. We don't have a somersaulting of policy that would have been the way. So when I was in secondary school, they brought what they call introductory technology, imported equipment, and gave us one big room. Somebody was supposed to be teaching us some handheld skills. We don't see the teacher. The thing, I think, would have died a natural death inside that place, you know. It's just that we don't have much time. People on online, they are bustling. But I want to assure you, Chairman, I hope we are giving him the fellow already. Is it not our fellow? Yes, please, he's our fellow. He's going nowhere. He's going nowhere. Registrar. Yes, sir. Please stop with this necessary subcommittee. Okay. We are going to have a mandatory development program that only him will talk. So that we have this to and fro, which we're supposed to do here, that time is not allowing us to do.
We also have a joint program, Nasetem and Ciota, that's coming.
Sure, I know about that one.
Good.
But there is some things he has put on our. I'm the sorry president because he pushed so many things to me. My president is able. My president is able to take those things. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a tip in the iceberg, but I'm sure this presentation is with us. So we will roll it over to the attendants that are here, and those who are also online, please just help me add your email to that. Just add an email against your name so that Secretariat will pick it up. You will get the attendant. His address is also not hidden. DG Nasetem. Nasetem has an office here in Abuja and also have an office at the, which of the universities is that? There's an office in Lagos. Ife is a major hub for Nasetem. Yes, Above Awolowo University. They also have an office there. Office in Enugu, if not Port Harcourt. I know there are some zonal offices Nasetem has. We want to thank the president who brought somebody that is around in a round hole. You know, I think I like this. If a DG is speaking like this, 9% solution day. Thank you very much, sir. And just to say that, sir, the Minister of Transportation launched, I think, 2 locomotives using CNG. Here in Abuja, it was launched. And you also talked about the LNG. These are things we needed to use locally. I was excited when it was a test conversion that was done. And if all our trains can use that, then we'll have hard cost crash, you know, from what it is currently. Ladies and gentlemen, can we now applaud to Doctor who gave this. He looked unassuming, but as if he knew that very old Nigerians, above 50 mostly, you know, that are here, and he made the lecture understandable. No plenty Oyibo follow there. it was a good one for old school. We like it. We understood it. We are challenged. And I tell you, we will look at that document again and see questions to ask. I will give you his contact at the right time. We can ask questions, and I believe he will answer. He's an academia. Questions that they pursue them. They want to see those to mentor. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us till this time. At this juncture, we will have Mr. President and Chairman in Council, and the Registrar. They will be doing a function together at this point. Mr. Registrar will present as NEC has approved the persons that are expected here physically and also online. And after that, we will bring the Chairman in Council to put the question about whether we want to serve with Ciota. For the institutes, for the organizational members, they don't have choice. But for Ciota members, they will want to say, yes, Mr. President, we are going to run with you. So let me welcome our Registrar, who will also remind us who is doing what in the Council. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, MC. Mr. President, gradually we are posting on. I'll be introduced as Rashid Aila Begum, the Registrar and Secretary to Council. The next agenda now in the program is the oath taking. We're going to do the oath in two fold. Mr. President will be invited to take his oath personally. Thereafter, Mr. President will invite all other council members to take their oaths. We have a lawyer on ground that will do that. But before we move further, I would like to acknowledge the presence of the guest speaker, who has just given us a wonderful lecture. Also to acknowledge the presence of the representative of Head of Service, the Deputy President, the Aviation Ministry, and the Road Safety. Just like I also represent acknowledge the presence of everybody here. You are all VIP to us. So before we move further, I would first of all like to invite Mr. President to stand up, while I invite the lawyer to take the oath for the Mr. President. After that, then we're going to call all council members that are here physically for the oaths, while we are acknowledging the presence of those that are joining us through Zoom. They also have the oaths online, which they are going to take. But to start with, we'll begin with Mr. President. Thank you, sir.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Barrister Deborah Wesley Gambo, and I will be proceeding with the oath of allegiance to Mr. President, sir. Please, sir, you will lift up your right hand and repeat after me. When I say I, you will state your name and repeat after me. I, Prince Shegun Obayendo, hereby accept to be a member of the Governing Council of the Chartered Institute of Transport Administration of Nigeria with effect from today, and I solemnly swear as follows to observe and to adhere strictly to the code of ethics and core values of the institute, to remain loyal to the authority of the institute, to avoid undue interference with the management of the institute, to attend all meetings, conferences, mandatory programs, and other social events where members are invited, to use my knowledge and skill for the advancement of the transport profession, being honest and impartial, and serving with fidelity the public, their employers and clients, and avoid any act either in the place of work or any other places in the society that is likely to tarnish the image of the institute, to project the image and contribute to the development of the institute. I understand that
the Institute reserves the right
to
take appropriate disciplinary action in line with the constitutional requirements. Should I violate its code of ethics and core values, I also understand that I will subject myself to the Institute for it to attain higher heights. I therefore pray for the power, zeal and wisdom to enable me adhere to this oath of membership. So help me God. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. President. So on this note, I would like to invite other council members to the podium here for their votes. I would like to start with the Deputy President, Malam Umar Iya. Mazi Phillips Okoronko.
Yes, sir.
Present, sir.
Malam Amino Tarda Musa. Mrs. Felicia Nfonduki. Engineer Yakubu Gayus. Chief Sunday Audu. Alhaji Muhammad Tijani. ACM K.A. Ibrahim. Mr. Mufta Obayeda. So I'd like to inform us that we have 30 members on the list. Those that are here physically are here with us, but those that are not here physically will be joining online for their oaths. Thank you.
Wish to administer the oath of allegiance. You know it better. Once we say I, you mention your name and we read together. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
I,
Mazi Phillips Okoronko,
accept to be a member of the Governing Council
of the Governing Council
of the Chartered Institute of Transport Administration of Nigeria, with effect from today, and I solemnly swear as follows. 1. To observe and to adhere strictly to the code of conduct and core values
to the code of ethics and core values
of the Institute. To remain loyal to the authority of the Institute. To avoid undue interference with management of the Institute. To attend all meetings, conferences, mandatory programs, and other social events where members are invited. To use my knowledge and skill for the advancement of the transport profession. Being honest and impartial. And serving with fidelity the public. Their employers and clients. And avoid any acts either in my place of work or any other places in the society. That is likely to tarnish the image of the Institute. And to protect the image and contribute to the development of the Institute. I understand that the Institute reserves the right to take appropriate disciplinary action. In line with the constitutional requirements. Should I violate its code of ethics and core values? I also understand that I will subject myself to the Institute. For it to attain higher heights. I therefore pray for the power, zeal and wisdom to enable me adhere to the oath of membership of this Governing Council. So help me God. Congratulations, each and every one of us.
Thank you, sir.
Council and the thousands of Ciotans and the entire transportation sector that you have aptly, articulately, eloquently presented. And you sum it up as 30 million. It's not just me or Ciota giving you this. On behalf of the 30 million in the transport sector, we want to say thank you for the light you brought to bear today. We want to say we appreciate you for all you are doing and the partnership we are going to begin to implement. And this will be a revolution that will change our country. And we can begin to conserve and save so many dollars if we can do it here. So we can't really thank you enough, but please accept this our small token of appreciation. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And this one, just to say thank you. We can't thank you enough. This was mind-blowing, and we work with you. Thank you, sir. Distinguished members of the newly inaugurated Governing Council, distinguished Ciotans, ladies and gentlemen of the press, permit me to continue to stand on the existing protocol. Today, what we have just inaugurated is as good as fueling our car. And when a car is fueled, you know the next thing. We want to accelerate. We want to move. We want to take what we call mobility steps. So this is exactly what we have done. The council has been duly fueled, been duly inaugurated, and the next thing we need to do now is, I don't have excuse personally why we should not deliver what the nation is expecting of us. There will be no excuse for us to, as Governing Council member, to say we did not achieve this because of one challenge or the other. Let's say no to challenges. And once we have that mindset that whatever comes our way, we don't want to call it challenges. We want to call it all the opportunities that will come our way. We are going to optimize them to the benefit of humanity, and to begin with, to the benefit of Nigerians. A lot has been said, both from our guest speaker and in other activities that we have been having, which is speaking to the fact that this sector is the heart and the nucleus of our economy. So we need to get it right. We need to reposition it. We need to make it as much as possible deeply professionalized. If we have that, that will be the beginning of the great expectation and wisdom as far as transportation in Nigeria is concerned. I can't really thank the guest speaker enough for the eye-opening areas that he has shown us, and I want to assure him that the Governing Council that you witnessed today will not just attempt, will carry out some of these things so that Nigerians can be proud that yes, there's an institute who is not just professionalizing, it's also adding value in different ways. We promise you that, my DG. And on behalf of all the Governing Council, let me just assure Ciotans that it's a new dawn, and we will deliver all that is expected of us. There will be no excuses going forward. We have all it takes to get it done. The network has been created in the last 2 years. This last time of mine, as your chairman and president, I will ensure that those networks are properly tapped to your advantage, and in due course, we'll begin to see the very light at the end of the tunnel. Once again, I accept this responsibility with all humility and with the glory of God, and I want to say thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to appreciate everyone who came to be part of this, the physical part of this meeting. Those online, we appreciate you. Thank you for your patience. God bless you all. And at this juncture, we are going to rise to take the national pledge. I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend her unity and uphold her honor and glory. So help me God.